people have their own story, whether it's a story of their own journey or the journey of someone they love. The focus on weight loss in America is based upon a real issue. No one can deny that concerns about obesity in America are legitimate. Likewise, the focus on literacy in America is based upon a real issue as well. You may have heard that national NAEP scores continually show that 1/3 of fourth graders in the United States are proficient readers. Only a third. This statistic is unacceptable, and it's indicative of a critical problem for our country. Just as with weight loss systems, educators are constantly approached by companies and organizations with promises of programs that are based on cutting-edge research that will yield fast and long-lasting results. Elementary teachers are typically passionate about teaching reading. They enjoy it and feel satisfied professionally when they watch the transformation over time of a child evolving from a non-reader to a proficient reader. Teachers typically go into the teaching field with a strong desire to positively impact the lives of students. And teaching students to read proficiently is one of the biggest gifts that teachers can give his or her students. However, teachers are also inundated with a landslide of information on how to best teach a child to read. Teachers have been told for years from this expert and then that expert the right way to teach reading. They've experienced changes in programs, changes in philosophy, and eventually made their own multi-million-dollar company to help each other out. A teacher's most trusted evidence is often their own experience and the experience of the teacher next door. But luckily, advances in science and research are helping to narrow the scope of the conversation for us concerning literacy. Also, heightened awareness about dyslexia is helping educators start to have the right conversations and discuss the right details in this massive topic of literacy. We are here today specifically to introduce the start of a multi-year professional learning opportunity we launched last Wednesday, May 27th, called Letters. But in order to understand the full picture, we would also like to tell you a little bit about some events that have been happening that are leading to the discussion to begin this training. There have been efforts in recent years nationally to raise awareness about the science of reading, and Fayette County has taken steps in this direction. Research shows that high-quality core instruction includes the 5 essential components of reading: phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Instruction in oral language, writing, spelling, and handwriting, I know people think that's forgotten, but it is not, is also essential. We also know that instruction should be explicit, systematic, and cumulative. Historically, Fayette County had roots in what is called a balanced literacy approach to instruction. However, what I found as I started working with teachers and leaders across the district is that there are numerous interpretations of what that term even means. So efforts started several years ago to move us forward with a common understanding of what effective core instruction is. Our core adopted ELA resource is Pearson's ReadyGen. It was adopted in 2017, and it is a knowledge-building, integrated approach to teaching reading and writing using rigorous, authentic text. ReadyGen has provided a catalyst for deepening teachers' understanding of the Georgia Standards of Excellence, especially in understanding the connections between reading and writing. Our motto is, teach the thinking behind the task. And we've written a set of explicit, systematic points, and a written set of explicit, systematic teaching points and thinking strategies that are woven into those lessons creating a common language among teachers and students that are vertically aligned from kindergarten through 5th grade. Another way that we supplement the ReadyGen resource is through additional guidance, materials, and assessments for teaching foundational reading skills. This supplemental guidance provides a deeper explanation of the science of reading and how to provide explicit, systematic, and cumulative instruction for phonological awareness, phonics, and word analysis lessons. This has been a very popular summer professional learning class, as well as with individual teams of teachers during the school year. When students require additional support in reading through the multi-tiered systems of support, the district offers several interventions. For students with the greatest needs and identified specific learning disabilities, or those who qualify for special education, we have yet another set of interventions in place that are even more specialized. Several of these tools are listed in our state's dyslexia handbook. We are fortunate that these efforts that we've been making over the years have paid off in increasing reading performance of our students. The NAEP statistics that I shared a moment ago about only 1/3 of 4th graders being proficient doesn't apply to Fayette County. As you can see in the chart, results on the 4th grade ELA milestones assessment over the last several years show that between 72 and 80% of Fayette County 4th graders read proficiently. However, despite this progress, we strive to continue to improve and to ensure that all of our students are taught to be proficient readers.
People across Georgia also recognize the need to ensure that all of Georgia's students are taught to be proficient readers. Our state legislature began to consider dyslexia legislation in the 2019 session, and in Fayette County, a dyslexia committee was formed as this legislation was being considered. The current members are listed on the slide. In May of 2019, the governor signed Senate Bill 48, which is the dyslexia bill, into law. Senate Bill 48 addresses the identification of and support for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade who exhibit the characteristics of dyslexia. The state also published a dyslexia informational handbook in December of 2019. This handbook provides definitions, descriptions, and suggestions for districts as we increase our teachers' knowledge and understanding of the characteristics of dyslexia and begin to screen students specifically for the signs of dyslexia and systematically improve reading instruction. Next year, Fayette County will move from the response to intervention framework to a multi-tiered system of supports, which is a move that all Georgia districts are being guided to by the State Department of Education to implement. A multi-level prevention system consists of 3 levels of intensity of prevention that include high-quality core instruction, evidence-based interventions, and supports. The MTSS framework recognizes the importance of effective Tier 1 instruction for all students, as well as supplemental instruction for targeted areas of need. Under Senate Bill 48, the state will begin a 3-year pilot program of implementation of the bill's provisions in selected districts next school year. Beginning in 2024-25, the bill requires all districts to begin screening students for the characteristics of dyslexia. In Fayette County, we're taking proactive steps to meet and even exceed the requirements of Senate Bill 48. We are reflectively evaluating our existing curriculum while moving forward with professional learning for our teachers. We want our teachers to know how to respond when students exhibit characteristics of dyslexia. Beyond that, we want our teachers well prepared to teach all students with methods and practices backed by the science of reading.
So in light of Senate Bill 48, thorough research was done to determine the best professional learning option for our Fayette County teachers. We started that research with the understanding that literacy is a language process. However, unlike oral language, which often develops with just good modeling from others talking to us as we are infants and toddlers, We do recognize that direct instruction is necessary to teach most students how to read and write. There's a useful model that you see on the slide that kind of lets you know that how complex this task is and how many components there are to consider when you're talking about creating and teaching a skilled reader. There's basically two different parts of this reading rope that we would want to consider. The word recognition, which would include things like phonemic awareness, decoding, your phonics skills, and sight recognition would all fall under the word recognition strand of the rope. But equally important is the language comprehension strand. Under this strand, you'd find things like background knowledge or language structures or verbal reasoning, things like inferencing, vocabulary knowledge would all fall there. These things have to work together, and as a child becomes increasingly automatic in recognizing words, they're able to read more fluently, which impacts comprehension. However, the language that is written for us to read is typically a lot more sophisticated than just the language that we use as we speak to one another conversationally. Therefore, kids also have to be taught to be strategic in understanding the text that they read. I'm going to give you an example that might help explain this slide a little bit more and help give you a picture into the research that we conducted. Ernest Hemingway, an author, was given a challenge at one point from some author friends of his. He was challenged to write an emotionally based short story in as few words as possible. Ernest Hemingway took this challenge on and he came up with a 6-word short story. That short story says, "For sale, baby shoes, never worn." Those of us who are adults automatically get a little bit of a sucker punch of emotion when we hear those words. However, in Fayette County, we have many first graders, even some kindergartners, who would be able to recognize those words. They would be able to decode them and possibly even read them so fluently and so skilled that they would rattle it off just the way that I did. In fact, we have first graders and kindergartners who would understand a lot of those words. They would understand that for sale means that you are putting something up for someone to purchase. They would know that the shoes that are baby shoes would be shoes for a baby. And they would understand that never being worn just means that no one's ever worn those shoes before. However, a student of that age wouldn't have the background knowledge or the life experiences to really understand the full meaning of that language structure without guidance and instruction from a teacher to be able to make those more complex inferences. So when we were looking for a program for training our teachers, we wanted to consider all of these pieces of this skilled reading rope and find the program that best addressed all of those different strands. So we selected from our Dyslexia committee, after considering several training options and programs, the LETTERS course of study. This stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And this particular course of study was chosen for several reasons. The first reason is because it's highly comprehensive. So just as I went through that skilled reading rope diagram with you, the LETTERS training focuses on all aspects of skilled reading. It's not just focused mostly on the word recognition side or on the language comprehension side, but on all components that go into becoming a skilled reader. It gives in-depth knowledge based on the most current research regarding what, when, and how language skills need to be taught. It provides guidance on how to plan and balance word recognition and comprehension instruction. It teaches ways to assess student language development for both prevention and intervention. And it provides information on how to differentiate instruction to meet the needs of all students. The second reason, and one of the ones that was very important to us, is that it is not a new curriculum. In fact, LETTERS is just a comprehensive and in-depth course of study that provides knowledge and tools that teachers can use with any good curriculum. We felt like this was important because this allows teachers to become evaluators of curriculum and true experts so that they can use any curricular tool that they're given to the best of its design. And finally, we selected this particular course of study because it's very in-depth. Each person who is going through the letters training will go through 2 years of training. Additionally, it has various training components. There are 3 components. They will, the teachers participating in this will do reading on their own with the text. They will do online modules, and they'll also have in-person virtual training with letters consultant.
So during the 2021 school year, 255 teachers and staff will go through this year one of their 2-year training. The 255 teachers include all kindergarten teachers, all first grade teachers, EIP teachers, which are early intervention teachers, and our elementary special ed teachers, as well as some of our elementary speech language pathologists and even a few secondary special education reading teachers. So after the kickoff that we had on Wednesday, I've already had teachers reach out to me with gratitude for this opportunity. They're excited that for the first time we have classroom teachers, intervention teachers, and special ed teachers participating in training together. The opening words of the letters trainer's presentation were, "Teachers matter." And we genuinely believe that they do. So we are excited about this leg of our literacy journey here in Fayette County. Our goal by the end of this multi-year training is, if you put 12 teachers of reading from Fayette County in a room and ask them how to teach a student to read, you'll not only get a common answer, but you will see them implementing effective practices based on the science of reading in their individual classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for this information. Board members, we certainly, I know this is a topic that's been of interest to you. If you have any questions, I know the ladies will be happy to entertain those now. Clearly, the information, the slides, the data, they'll be on the webpage and in this presentation. And if you have any questions or concerns, please let us know.
I just want to make a comment. I've met and had a lot of conversations with moms of dyslexic children, and I just want to applaud the district for moving in this direction and trying to improve our current practice and do a better job in this regard. Because I know the board feels that, and the district leadership and everyone feels that we want to make sure we're taking care of all students.
I would agree, Mr. Hollowell, and that, I think the point was made by our presenters here. We're far better than the rest of the country already, but if we've got even a small percentage of young children that are not mastering the skill of reading, that's a concern for us. So we're really going to work to ramp that up, and I'd love to be able to come back and see well into the 90s, 100% proficient readers by grade 4. And appreciate the work in that regard, ladies. If no other questions, we'll move on to item 3.